Hello everyone, and let's take a look at managing our host on vCenter. We have added two of our hosts in vCenter. Now we will spend some time to go over some of the options that are available in vCenter for our hosts. And again, what are the hosts? The hosts are the ESXi server. And don't confuse virtual machines with the hosts. Alright, I'll go straight into my Firefox browser and I have logged in already to our vCenter server. The IP address is 192.168.19.7. This message was always going to pop up indicating the license expiring in the inventory. You could just close this out. Alright, so the first thing we have is the vCenter right here and then our data center. And these are the hosts that we added. 19.5, 19.5, and 19.6. Okay, every time you click on it and then you right click on it, you're gonna get a whole bunch of different options, and we will cover all these options really quickly. If you want to learn more and get more detailed information, then I would definitely recommend that you could visit the VMware website to learn more about each of the options. All right, very first thing is it's telling you what are the actions available, which can also be, by the way, these actions can also be listed just over here, just like that. All right, when you right click again, the first thing it says create a new virtual machine. You know how to do it, you know how to create a virtual machine through the ESXi server, and now you could create a virtual machine on the vCenter the same way as if you were creating on ESXi. New virtual applications. So if your applications are virtual, they can move around from one VM to another. A lot of application users actually use this feature to protect the production workflow. Next one is new resource pool. Resource pool is when you have, for example, your host has, for example, 16 gig of memory, and you wanted to dedicate 4 gig of memory from that 16 gig just for a few VMs. So that's when you create the new resource pool and assign that that resource, the RAM, the CPU, or disk. So that's where you create the new resource pool. Deploy OVF template. If you have an OVA appliance, you could deploy it just like the same way we did for our vCenter installation, option 1. Then we have connection. If you want to disconnect this ESXi server. Now, if you disconnect, you're not going to lose your virtual machines and you're not going to power down your ESXi. It's just that it will unregister itself from the vCenter. Then we have maintenance mode. Maintenance mode is very effective and used by many administrators to perform maintenance on the ESXi server. As soon as you hit a maintenance mode, it's not going to shut down, but it will migrate the virtual machines to another host, and that is only if you have the auto migrate and live migrate if you have the HA available and enabled. We'll talk about HA again later on. Power, it's very simple. You could shut it down and reboot. Certificate, if you want to generate a new certificate. Storage, let's say if your ESXi server is running on a physical bare metal hardware, and you attached a new storage device to it through fiber channel or through SCSI or whatever the way you attached. Now you need to go and discover that storage. So that's why you have to go in and click on rescan, and it will rescan it, and then you could create a new data store. Add networking. Right now we only have one networking created by default, and if you wanted to create multiple networking, you could do it right here. Host profiles. So let's say if all the settings that you have applied to the host, for example, it's DNS information, it's default gateway, it's NTP server, it's a user root and root password, all those settings that we did, we could extract that setting from this ESXi server, and the next time we're going to build an ESXi server, we could just simply attach that same setting to the next ESXi server. It'll be a lot faster. You don't have to do a lot of manual work. That's why we need these host profiles. Another reason, of course, is let's say if you are in a corporate environment and you are running in a chassis environment where you have blade server systems. If one of the blade dies, you replace that blade. But now, once you insert the new blade, are you going to have to rebuild the whole thing? It's a lot of tedious work. That is why all you would have to do is slap on this host profile and it will build that server for you. Edit default compatibility. If you click on it, you're going to notice that right now our ESXi server runs on version 6.5 and it is compatible with 6.5 and up for the VMs. But if you want to change the compatibility version, for example, let's say you click on it, right now it's set to use data center settings and host versions, which is 6.5. But if you wanted to change it, you could use some different versions too as well that's available, so that you could utilize them. But we will leave them default. Right click again. Export system logs. Something goes wrong with your ESXi server, you could actually click on this and it will generate the log bundle. And then once you have that, you could share it with the VMware support. Reconfigure vSphere HA, which has been grayed out, and the reason it's been grayed out is because we haven't set up HA yet. So once it's set up, then we could come back and reconfigure it. Assign license. If we have the actual license and we bought it from VMware, then we could add it here and assign it to this host. Settings, there are multiple settings that you could do, like you could create the networking setting, the virtual machine settings, the system settings, which is licensing, time configuration if you wanted to change, NTP settings, certificates, power management, advanced system. There's so many other settings. Of course, if I go through each one of them, it will take me a really long time. And that is why I highly recommend you that you go through each one of them and try to understand what they are. Or if you could look it up online or a VMware website, that would be great. Alright, so let's go back and I'll click on the next option is move to. So if you wanted to move to another data center, let's say if you have multiple data centers or multiple clusters or folders, then you could use this option to move your ESXi server around. Tags and custom attributes. So right now, if you notice, it has the IP address of 192.168.19.5, and that's how it is showing right here. But now let's say if you wanted to label something that it will be easier for you to recognize this host right away, you could actually use these tagging feature. Where to go? Right here. You could use these tagging and custom attributes to type it in. You could just say simply like my first ESXi host. And then next time you wanted to search, you could basically search through that tag right here in that search bar instead of remembering the IP. So that's why these tags and attributes are somewhat useful. Add permission if you have multiple users in your environment and you want one user to view only one ESXi server, not the other, then you can assign these permissions here. Alarms, if you want to be notified in case your ESXi server dies or your VMs die, then you could be notified and you could set up these alarms here. Remove from inventory, this is basically the same way as if you are doing disconnect. It will disconnect, and remove meaning it will have a record of in the database, but it will just not show up in this navigator pane. Alright, all vCenter orchestrator plugins actions. So these are the orchestrator. Orchestrator is to automate some of the tasks, and it has a built-in orchestrator which you could take advantage of. But this requires a lot of development work. I'm not really too good at it, so I'm really not going to touch on this subject. And the last one is update manager. If there's a new update version for the ESXi server that you're running that's available, you could actually update it right from here. And this is a great feature the VMware has. Sometimes you don't have to actually go into the command line to do that. You could just attach the bundle, the baseline of your update, and then you could update your ESXi server. So these are the different options that we have available. I might have gone through pretty fast, but if you want to go again, spend some time, please do so.